All right, everybody, let's review the Fluance RT80.
So before we get to that, I wanted to point out an album I picked up probably a couple of months back. This is An Evening with Chick Corea and Herbie Hancock. And it's a 2-disc album, kind of a live album. It is a live album. And it's not kind of, it is a live album. It's actually recorded at a few different venues. Absolutely freaking brilliant. I mean, really, truly. I picked it up because, you know, anything with Herbie Hancock I seemingly have to get. And I've become increasingly aware, more aware of Chick Corea, particularly like Return to Forever and some of his, you know, jazz fusion albums of the 70s, but also his later stuff into the 80s and 90s as well. And become more appreciative of that and that sort of thing. But this is an absolutely phenomenal record. Of course, the first disc is basically sort of classic jazz, more or less. The second album, particularly side 2, exposes a side of Herbie Hancock heretofore unknown to myself. That is, of course, him playing effectively classical music, or let's say music that's classically tinged with a hair bit of avant-garde kind of thrown in there. Absolutely brilliant, really truly phenomenal. If you have an opportunity to check this album out, please do so. I think it might be on streaming. Honestly, I didn't look, but I do know that they had a CD version of it at some point. But yeah, an absolutely phenomenal record. So let's look around the Fluance RT80 and we'll talk about it and kind of go over its features and all that good stuff. So yeah, let's do it. A little bit handheld with this. Of course, you got your dust cover. It has your speed selector / power switch over here. 45, 33. Right now I've got it set up using the built-in phono preamp, which sounds lovely, by the way. And it has sort of a cutoff feature, so you turn it on, and then it's not rotating, but the little switch will turn it when you move the tone arm in place. Of course, your lifter works very well, very nice. Damped right there, works great. Lifting is another problem. You can see it kind of bounces there when you do it quickly. But that's really my only criticism. Other than that, it works and performs brilliantly. Of course, here is the rear of it. I do have it all set up, so I'm not going to move it. But as you can see, you've got outputs. You can turn the auto stop feature off, which, by the way, works absolutely fantastic. Let's actually demonstrate that right now. And it'll basically ride the run-out groove for a few seconds, as you can see. And then what it'll do is it'll basically just shut itself off. It won't lift the arm or anything like that, but it will, after maybe about 10, 15 seconds, maybe 20 seconds of just riding the run-out groove, it'll eventually just sort of shut itself off. It takes a second here, so I apologize. But anyway, you can be able to see it. Come on, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. Ah, there we go. You see, and it just shuts off. And then that way it's just not dragging the groove continuously. Of course, you can turn that off, but it seems to work great. I haven't had an issue with it, anything like that. So, yeah. Of course, what do I mean by a budget turntable? Of course, there's a lot of budgets, right? Budget for somebody might be a $27,000 turntable, you know, or a $2,700 or a $270. For me personally, a budget turntable is anywhere from, well, 0 on up to about $500. That's a budget turntable. Anything above that, we start getting into fancier stuff. And I think the market kind of holds that, sort of, you know, bears that out. In terms of what that being a budget, 500 and below is a budget. And of course, this is one of the least expensive new turntables, or actually it is the least expensive new turntable that I've messed with. Now, I picked this up a few months ago. I actually had some Amazon store credit and was able to pick this up. I couldn't figure out what to buy, and I thought, well, hey, let's get a little budget turntable. We'll have it as a spare, as a backup, that kind of thing. But I've actually been blown away with this thing. I really have. So anyway, let's talk about it. So as you saw from kind of the overview, looking it over, the features, the functions seem to work really well. I haven't had an issue with the auto stop. The built-in phono preamp sounds pretty decent. It sounds comparable to what's in like the AS301, or of course this RX V480, kind of this early 90s Yamaha stereo receiver. You know, it sounds like a good basic budget phono preamp. There's nothing really to complain about. There's nothing that wows you, but there's nothing to complain about either. It just sounds good. Sounds decent, you know, pleasurable, right? You know, and overall, even the phono cartridge, I believe this is the AT2600, or is it the 3600? I kind of forget. But very similar to the Rega Carbon cartridge, if you know what I mean. You know, speed consistency is pretty good. It does have some adjustments underneath the table that you can, you know, stick a little screwdriver in and adjust the speed. Although my speed has been very, very consistent. It does run slightly fast at 3.5 and 45.4. So slightly quick, but nothing egregious. And actually, I prefer the sound of a little bit of a quick turntable. It's nothing you can really hear, but I just think it makes rhythm. And I'm kind of with Roy Gandhi on that. Having a little bit of a quicker turntable makes for a little bit of a better sound. Overall, build quality, functionality is great. Sound quality is equally great. It's really nothing bad. You know, whether I'm using the built-in phono preamp or of course something else or external model, I've got a couple of those lying around, you know, I get a great consistent sound quality. I haven't really tried any other cartridges on it. I think at this budget, it's important to try to talk about it, how it comes, and it sounds great. It sounds like nothing egregious, as I talked about with the phono preamp. Same thing goes for the turntable as a whole. It just sounds pleasurable. You don't notice anything deficient with the bass or anything deficient with sound staging or left to right balance or treble or mid-range or any of this stuff. It just sounds, yeah, it sounds good. And you know, it almost makes you forget about wanting to maybe have something else. Now, I did put a cork mat on here. I had a cork mat laying around I threw on there as opposed to the felt. I prefer a cork mat to the felt, but you know, other than that, that's really the only modification I've made. And it just, like I said, it just sounds pleasurable. It sounds good enough, if you know what I mean. That's all I can really say. And you know, I've had a few budget turntables over the years. I've had the Audio-Technica, what is it, the LP70, the new one. I reviewed that on my channel. I've had the Sony, the little budget Sony automatic. At one point I featured it on my channel, but I never did do a review of it. And I like both of those turntables, but I like this one even more. I think for whatever reason, this one gets a better sound quality than those. It sounds fuller, it sounds richer, it sounds more engaging. You know, you feel like more of the music is coming off the record with this. And you know, I've often hesitated to do a Fluance turntable because it seems to be kind of one of those flavor of the month things, or at least that's how I've perceived it. Kind of this, you know, everybody's talking about how awesome they are, so it must be something up with it. You know what I mean? Like, it can't be that good. But yeah, actually it is. It is that good. You know, like I said, I bought this with my own, well, sort of my own money. I had some Amazon store credit I picked it up with, but it's been a flawless turntable. It makes a great budget turntable. I'm going to continue to use it as kind of a backup table, you know, that type of thing. But it's been, yeah, it's been flawless. It's been fantastic. At $200, I mean, come on. This thing is outrageous for $200. Really, truly.